Disney is having some boy trouble, so says Variety in a new report. Disney is desperate for pitching ideas that will appeal to specifically the Gen Z male audience, which they define as men between the ages of 13 and 28 years old. They aren't just looking to revive the franchises that they have decisively killed over the years, like Star Wars or Marvel. They're looking for original IP pitched from Hollywood studios that's going to get young men into theaters.
That might have been the most interesting part about this whole thing, was the discussion about saying that Bob Iger lying, saying that we won't favor existing IP. Yes, you will. We know that they will. They're lying about that. But saying that they want original concepts. And then they also talk about the idea of like the viral types of movies, meaning Minions, Rise of Gru, Minecraft, how it got Gen Z men into the theaters and energized. You
Maybe
mentioned
FNAF.
Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's did that as well, and that was a movie that came out on Peacock the same day that it came out in theaters, and it still did over 100 million at the box office when it came out. And they're desperate because they know that the millennials, they had four billion-dollar movies like in the last couple of years. So they had Lilo and Stitch, they had Moana 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, and Inside Out 2. All sequels except for Lilo and Stitch, which is, of course, a live-action remake. Deadpool is a third in a series. The other ones are sequels. And that preys on millennials who are nostalgic about those properties and then bring their young kids to go see them, which is a vastly different audience, and you can't cater to that forever. And they have turned Marvel and Star Wars into girl brands. And just off the top of my head, I was thinking about all of the things that Marvel did that lent that way. So it's not just Captain Marvel getting the role of the most powerful character in the MCU and then slotted right between Infinity War and Endgame, which signaled that. It was the Eternals, which had a sex scene in it, which didn't need to be there, which felt like this weird, it felt derivative of YA novels and its boringness and how stupid it was. And then there was Wakanda Forever, which didn't recast T'Challa, favoring instead to choose Shuri. There was Ant-Man and the Wasp, which became a lot less about Ant-Man and a lot more about Wasp and, of course, his daughter, which became the activist. She-Hulk, need I say more? Agatha All Along. You know, I loved Agatha All Along, but I don't expect other people to love Agatha All Along. Echo, Miss Marvel, which despite the fact that Iman Vellani is the most charismatic and endearing of the actors working at Marvel now, was marketing to a group of people that don't care, meaning it was for Gen Z women or even younger, perhaps, that just don't have an interest in watching Marvel properties. It doesn't matter to them at all. And then Star Wars, of course, it goes all the way back to Kathleen Kennedy and The Force is Female, and changing the sequel trilogy to be focused on Rey when they could have had it on other characters. So,
and it is quite remarkable how Disney has been on such a roll hiring actresses who are so annoying.
Yes.
Just one after the other. Daisy Ridley notwithstanding.
You left one out too, but go ahead.
Okay. Daisy Ridley is fine. She's not annoying. I've never seen her make some kind of PR blunder, but with Brie Larson, Amandla Stenberg, and Rachel Zegler in no particular order, they also need to vet their talent more, because all of them were exceptionally annoying on press runs.
Okay, maybe not on press runs, but don't forget Phoebe Waller-Bridge from Indiana Jones, who people dislike on principle.
She got less flack than the other three.
She wasn't as annoying as the other ones.
Right, so that's another problem. But they say leadership at Walt Disney Studios has been pressing Hollywood creatives in recent months for movies that will bring young men back to the brand in a meaningful way. Every film studio is looking for better ways to convert young audiences into habitual moviegoers. Numerous studies show that Gen Z men, in particular, are a lonely, gaming-obsessed group who were hampered in their formative years by the COVID-19 lockdowns.
Weird how during COVID, nobody seemed to be willing to admit that what they were doing to people was going to have lasting effects. Now it's just considered common knowledge.
Right. What's surprising producers, writers, and other partners in the industry is that Disney has been calling for original concepts to lure the demo back to the movies.
They mention global adventures and treasure hunts. Okay. Let's fucking go.
If we're talking about the age group of 13 to 28, though, the idea that they need to be brought back implies that they ever were habitual moviegoers in the first place, which they weren't. And also, if the economy is any predictor of how this will go for them, they're not going to get Gen Z men in theaters. It's too damn expensive.
It's also funny that they mention that, like, it's been so bad for so long. They mention it's been so long since they had content for males, like Pirates of the Caribbean. No, not that Margot Robbie reboot we were talking about. So they're already talking about how this walking skin suit of the female-led reboot is still there because they want to bring Johnny Depp back. And they had Orlando Bloom saying recently, like, unless the whole cast comes back, we're not going to do it.
Marvel and Lucasfilm have sated men of all ages over almost 2 decades since the company acquired them. Sources say Disney has been seeking new IP and pitches such as splashy global adventures and treasure hunts, as well as seasonal fare like films for the Halloween corridor.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing, when I think of that, I don't think of horror movies necessarily as I do FNAF. Like, I think of, like, maybe making a Five Nights at Freddy's movie something that you release around the Halloween season as a good idea.
Was it released around Halloween?
I don't know. I'm just saying that in my mind, in my head canon, that works as a good idea.
Yeah.
They also mentioned that Disney a while ago bought a majority stake in Fortnite, but they don't have the movie rights. That's what they should be doing.
That's a miss.
Make the Fortnite movie. I support the idea of global adventures and treasure hunts for movies. Remember they made Uncharted in 2022 and it should have made way more money, but it didn't because nobody felt that Tom Holland really represented the character of Nathan Drake all that well, even though I thought the movie was perfectly fine. But I didn't play the Uncharted games, just like people who will go see the first Tomb Raider movie don't really care because Angelina Jolie was great and maybe they didn't play Tomb Raider on PlayStation.
So they do mention the meme quality of movies that catch Gen Z male attention. And basically, Gen Z men will go to a movie to make fun of the idea that they're going to the movie in earnest, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
For the Minecraft movie in particular, filming themselves having these insane emotional outbursts over key moments in the film, they're making fun of the idea that they're excited to see the movie, but the ticket sales are ticket sales nonetheless. They say built-in interest is not nearly as guaranteed for the Gen Z male audience, which propelled Warner Brothers' Minecraft movie to a nearly $1 billion haul. That was a game Gen Z played as very small kids, not to mention the viral moments it created for young men, filming moments inside multiplexes, sharing them on platforms like TikTok. See also the Universal Pictures Gentle Minions trend in 2022, where Gen Z bros packed theaters in suits and ties. But when that happened, they were kicked out of the theaters.
Yes.
They weren't even allowed to engage in their own fun little trend.
The female version of this is the sing-alongs for Wicked.
Right,
for
exactly. Or dressing up in pink to go see Barbie.
Yeah.
They're allowed to do that, even though it's just as disruptive to sing along to a musical movie as it is to scream in the theater and throw your popcorn in the middle of the Minecraft movie.
I did see somebody in the chat mention Primitive War. I do want to see Primitive War. I'm debating on it. And then people were mad at me because they're like, oh, women in the special forces. That's not believable. I'm like, well, they're fighting dinosaurs, so it's not really believable.
I think they should have maybe mentioned Oppenheimer as a movie that it did propel some interest from Gen Z men. Maybe mostly millennial men, but
I think that's mostly
the Barbenheimer of it all
Yeah.
was a factor that can't be ignored.
Yeah.
And one top film executive at Disney, at a Disney rival studio, says every studio should be looking for originals as sequels and reboots continue to exhaust the culture, even if they're packing in moviegoers for the short term. I never thought I'd say it, but it looks like Disney is going to have to start trying.
I mean, there's speaking purely from a consumer standpoint, from somebody who pays attention to the news and the way that these movies are received when they make changes to it. I understand that the reason for choosing built-in IP, or I'm sorry, a traditional IP is that there's a built-in audience and name recognition. And to most CEOs in these companies, that's considered invaluable. But you look at the movies that fail these days because of the changes they make to the source material. I off the top of my head, I can think of choosing to do a Sam Wilson Captain America movie, even though people can say, yes, it happened in the comics. It doesn't matter. People know who the Captain America everybody knows is, and that's Steve Rogers. There is so much more to be gained from creating something new with none of that baggage. With none of the baggage about race swaps, with none of the baggage about changes to the source material, or at the very least choosing source material that's so unique that the average person isn't going to know enough about it to know that it's being changed. Mm-hmm. And there's just a lot more to be gained from choosing movies like that. F1 was my favorite movie of the year this year, and it had nothing to do with any of these other franchises that they tried to launch into the stratosphere, whether it's, Thunderbolts or Superman or Fantastic Four or any of the other super comic slop that they tried to put on the big screen. My favorite movie of the year was F1. And if the thing is, that movie cost a lot of money to make. You can make movies for less than that are going to be interesting to people that aren't going to have the baggage, and they should be doing that.
Did you think that the American Psycho reboot would get some interest from Gen Z men?
That's going to depend heavily on how seriously they take the movie.
Well, it's sort of a dark comedy anyway. But they recast him with Austin Butler, and it's still in development right now. And people are worried about what they're going to do to the story because obviously it's not the year 2000 anymore. Yeah. And it's, offensive and misogynistic and glorifies violence against women, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but the thing is like, it's actually like, you can say that that's true and all, but it's right in line with internet culture. Bateman memes rule the internet on any given day.
Yeah, I'm thinking if we're looking at like movies that haven't come out yet that are probably going to interest Gen Z men, the American Psycho reboot definitely will.
Yeah.
Especially if they can also put in showings of the original American Psycho in the slot before the reboot comes out.
Yeah.
One of the tweets reacting to this headline about Disney's Boy Trouble said, jokingly, if only there was some way for Hollywood to crack the code on the eternal Sphinx-like mystery of what subject matter appeals to 17-year-old boys. Mm-hmm. And he followed up saying, me strolling into Disney HQ with my completed screenplay for Tits Force 8, Operation Car Crash. So is he basically saying that in order to appeal to Gen Z men, they need to ramp up the hot women and violence?
Yes. I mean, that appeals to all men.
Okay.
Sorry.
But Gen Z men are such an anomaly. I'm not sure you can even rely on that formula anymore. And like the main problem that no one is addressing, especially in the Variety report, is obviously that so much of the executive class at Hollywood studios, including Disney, loathe men.
Yeah.
Especially young men. And they even kind of included a barb there about how they're gaming obsessed.
Yeah.
Like they can't help themselves.
They're just stuck in their rooms playing their video games.
Exactly.
We get a 20 there.
From Pop Culture Junkie, Marvel's decline can be traced to an 8-year-old 50K research study with biased questions to elicit the desired answers. Goal, attract more women without turning off men. The results told them what they needed to hear.
And that kind of brings me to my point. I saved the Variety tweet about this, and I got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 5 on people dunking on Disney and Marvel here. Chris Gore says Disney turning Star Wars and Marvel from a boy brand into a girl brand will prove to be the costliest decision in movie history. Verbal Riot says it's almost like that they were warned over and over by men, and they still told men that they don't care if they watch their movies or not. George Alexopoulos says Star Wars is popular among young men. They should buy Lucasfilm and make some of those. Cosmic Book News says, is that Obama in the pic? And Spooky JB, shout out to JB Spooky Reviews. You should go follow him on YouTube. He's great. Says, they bought 2 boy brands, Star Wars and Marvel, and ran them into the ground in favor of bringing in women that generally don't care about this stuff. Yes, that is 100% true.
This is a video that I'm about to put out on Instagram about the interests that girls had in the 2000s, which were just allowed to be theirs. So that includes like teeny bopper pop stars like Justin Bieber and a franchise like Twilight. No one wanted Twilight to be mass appeal. Everyone knew it was for girls, and that was just fine. Mm-hmm. Nobody at the time had this strange conceit about wanting to make entertainment that can appeal to everyone.
You know who ruined
and
it
as soon as that was attempted, we've learned since then, and hopefully seemingly Disney has learned since then, no one is interested in content that is supposedly made for everyone.
You know who ruined it? It was Harry Potter, because the interest was almost equal across the board. Boys and girls both loved Harry Potter.
That can be achieved with fantasy genre, yeah.
It says, I'm building a team.
You know what? It's all because of Kathleen Kennedy being lame and woke.
It's put a chick in it. Make it less gay.
Maybe Bob Iger watched that special. And
I believe that he did.
He was humbled.
I don't know if he was humbled, but I do believe
he looked
that
himself in the mirror and he put his index finger on the mirror and he said, "Fix it, Bob."
Like in my head canon, Bob Iger does that in his free time. He goes into his private bathroom in the office and he pumps his chest out and he talks to himself.
He actually has the Patrick Bateman chemical peel every morning.
I hope so.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.